Hello and welcome to the Pre-Chiro podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Glass. Today we're making a professional chiropractor connection with Noah Kaplan. Noah, can you introduce yourself and just reflect on what it was that attracted you to become a chiropractor?
Yeah, good morning, Ben. Thanks for having me. Good to see you again. Um, I think that I got drawn into chiropractic through patient experience, through some injuries I had, um, early on in my professional life. I was at college in Colorado and had some injuries, and that kind of, was an inflection point in my life, and it ended up kind of taking me in a new path. Ended up just out in the tech world, tech sales for a few years, and realized I wasn't really fulfilled. Looking at spreadsheets and trying to hit sales numbers and those kinds of things. So I looked into chiropractic, and I shadowed lots of chiropractors, and it's always been something that was pulling me a little bit, and something that piqued my interest. And so I just learned everything I could about it, and just decided to go for it. And I started chiropractic school in 2007 and graduated in 2011.
Mm-hmm. Um, before we continue, can you make sure that you're not touching your phone or camera because
Oh,
the screen keeps shaking?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Gotcha.
All right. So, can you reflect on that moment that when you decided you wanted to become a chiropractor to when you started chiropractic school? Like, you were already a professional, so you were a career changer almost. How did you leverage your experience as being like a professional to like prepare yourself? Or when you got to chiropractic school, how did that help you um, maybe just have a better understanding of what it means to be a professional and to train? Can you kind of just elaborate on that transition in the chiropractic school, and then also when you got to chiropractic school, like what it was like for you?
Yeah, so it was a hard decision to make. I mean, I was doing well, making good money, kind of shooting up the corporate ladder in the tech world, and but my back was killing me, sitting at a computer 40 hours a week. And chiropractic, the idea of just helping people, and honestly just not having to sit in front of a computer all day, that was one thing that attracted me to it. And it's something that, the human body and performance was something I was always interested in. um, so the decision was hard because I had a business undergrad major, and so it was a daunting step because I would basically have to take several steps back in order to, you know, start this path. And so I had to take science prerequisites. So I ended up, going from, a nice, nice paying job to taking accelerated prerequisites on weekends while I was serving tables during the week. And that was about a year of that. And then finally, got to the point where I started school, and I came into school just focused and just ready to go. It wasn't something, I was kind of wallowing about. I think because of my experience, having the experience in the real world, and having the business mindset. I think I was just ready to go. I was at the point where I just wanted to get through it as quickly as I can, but I was realistic. So I started out on what was then the extended program, which was 14 quarters instead of 12 quarters, knowing that I probably needed some extra time to just make sure that I was absorbing everything. Um, but I was kind of in that middle group. I think there were some people who were coming right out of undergrad. You had that group that was coming right out of undergrad, then you had the people who were maybe in their you know mid to late 30s, and then you had the people that were kind of in between, which was where I was, kind of in my late 20s, starting out and having some experience.
Hmm. So once you got to school, like what were you attracted to? What really called you or spoke to you? Yeah, what groups did you gravitate towards? Which paths did you take?
I came in thinking I wanted to practice CBP. That was I was under care with a chiropractor who did CBP at the time, and I was attracted to the idea of changing, curves objectively, spinal curves objectively, and seeing pre and post X-rays, um, and using, kind of the science behind it and the research. And quickly, I realized that while I like those concepts, that wasn't really the technique that worked for me. I got really first quarter. I got attracted to upper cervical, and it wasn't something I even knew existed, before I started school. But the idea of just being able to help people beyond back pain, and really utilizing science, and utilizing objective measurements and just making a huge impact. I mean, that was something that really attracted me from the very beginning, first quarter. And by the third quarter, I knew that I wanted to practice upper cervical. And so from then on, I was locked in, and you you started shortly after and saw me doing my drills every morning in the break room, and I was just locked in, just trying to follow that path and be the best I could be.
Mm, mm. Can you maybe give any recommended resources for prospective students to learn more about upper cervical or even CVP? Like, I mean, I don't know how you got
Yeah.
exposed to CVP initially, but let's focus maybe on upper cervical. Like, where do you think people should start to learn more about upper cervical?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. I mean, there's different techniques within upper cervical. There's probably five or six, main techniques within the upper cervical umbrella. Blair is the upper cervical that I practice. And so blairchiropractic.com is a resource for Blair. And you can find out about it. There's videos, there's all sorts of things. Um, Nuka is probably the most popular upper cervical, or the most known. Nuka.org, I believe, is their website, and there's lots of links on there. Um, there's upper cervical conferences. There's a Blair conference every year. In this year, it's in Charlotte. It changes venues, but it's in October. That's always a good way to get exposed to it. Um,
Can you
you
open
know,
up about Blair? Like, what is Blair?
yeah,
How is it unique? What are the goals, or where's the focus of a Blair provider?
yeah. Blair. So Blair's looking like all upper cervical at the upper neck, the craniocervical junction where the head meets the top few bones in the neck, C1, C2. The Blair work really looks at anywhere from C1 to C4. Most upper cervical techniques really focus heavily on adjusting C1, relative to the head and getting the head on straight. What attracts me to Blair is that it's a little more dynamic in my opinion. We're using a light force, manual adjustment. Um, we could access anywhere between C1, C4. Some docs go even down to C5. And the beauty of Blair is it's looking at articulation, and this may be a little kind of too deep for some people, but it's looking at how the joints are aligned, and how that affects the nervous system. And the biggest thing that's going for Blair right now is just we're at the front end of using 3D imaging. So I have a 3D CBCT in my office. So instead of those two-dimensional X-rays that we used to use and had to take a series of maybe 7 views, now we take a 30-second, three-dimensional scan, and it gives us all the information we need. And we're actually looking at the human body in 3 dimensions, and able to measure it with software and know exactly what the misalignment looks like and how to correct it.
Mm.
Um, and
That's
so,
really exciting. Is that
yeah,
something that that you found out about through advanced training? Like, how did you know to get cone beam CT into your practice? Like, what was the thing that was like, I have to have that? And yeah,
It
like what is that bringing to the profession? Because I know it's a new technology for the profession to be using, but I know that it's really valuable for the people that have one.
it was a huge shift for me. I mean, it's relatively new. I've only had mine for 4.5 years, and I was on kind of the front end of people getting them in their office. It started out. It's really dental technology, and it's specialized dentists use it. So periodontists or endodontists. Um, and what we do is we just expand the field of view and pull it down to get like the mid to upper neck. It started out, some chiropractors were just referring out to dental imaging centers, and then they would get the information back and do their analysis. But slowly, we started, upper cervical chiropractors and Blair chiropractors started to get them in their office. And for me, I mean, just complete game changer. Just the accuracy of diagnosis. With the upper cervical world, I mean, figuring out the misalignment is 90% of it, really. So when you have this technology that completely takes a lot of the guesswork out, and being able to see things from all angles, things so many times I would look at these images and be like, yeah, I would have totally missed that on the traditional imaging, the old X-ray that I had, and now
Mm,
I can see it perfectly. And so it just gave me, tremendous confidence, um, and and just feeling like I'm doing the best that I can, for each person, and I
mm,
got it all locked in because
mhm,
because I'm able to see everything. And
mhm,
so now you're seeing just an explosion within the profession. You're seeing, there's a few chiropractic schools that have them there. I believe Palmer, Florida, um, has it, and I think Sherman College has one, and I believe Life West either has one or is getting one soon. So it's really exciting.
mhm. Are you currently engaged in any postgraduate training? Are you in the council for the upper cervical
Uh,
chiropractic studies?
yeah, so I completed my upper cervical diplomate program in 2019. So that's just a postgraduate program. It's about 3 years, where you're taking a deep dive into upper cervical and the research and the technology and the different adjusting techniques, so you have an understanding of how each technique group does it and what they're looking at and how they analyze it, so you have those perspectives. So that was really, I think, fruitful for me, to do that, and it helped shape where I'm in now. We have about, I think it's about 45 people who are upper cervical diplomates in the world. And there's another class that's about to graduate. I think they have about 25 in their class. So, that group is going to expand.
Mhm. Can you just speak on like what your favorite parts are of the science or the philosophy or the art of upper cervical chiropractic? Like maybe just a couple of specifics that come to mind that really keep you grounded, that like this is awesome and amazing and this is why I chose to do this, or just to introduce somebody or expand somebody's context.
Yeah, I think the relationship. I mean, there's two parts of what we try to do, and this is how I explain it to patients. We're trying to, number one, you know, balance the body from a structural standpoint, using the upper neck as the access point. Um, that upper neck, C1 and the head. I mean, that's really the keystone to how the rest of the body is aligned underneath it. So from a structural standpoint, if we can get the head on straight, it's going to give the body the best chance to come back into balance. And then the second aspect of it is the neurological side. So huge access point between the brain and the body is in the upper neck. We have the brain stem that's above, C1, we have cranial nerves, we have occipital nerves, we have the you know the seat of the autonomic nervous system, so the nervous system that controls our body's functions that is not under conscious control. And so when we have that access point, the implications are really limitless. If we can remove interference at that point, and the body can function neurologically in terms of healing, in terms of just normalizing its function. I mean, we see incredible stuff. I mean, obviously, I also see stuff where frustrates the heck out of me that I don't know why it's not working, but it's because the body's complex and there's all sorts of layers, and part of the job is kind of figuring out how everything interacts. But just just the impact that you can create, with on people's lives, and change the trajectory of their lives is and that's true with all of chiropractic. But I definitely see that with upper cervical, being able to do that, and every single day, and it's just really rewarding.
Mm, mm. Can you just maybe speak a little bit about more about your practice? I know you talked about the technology you use, but like
Yeah.
just maybe the lifestyle that you've been able to create for yourself as a chiropractor, and then also like bring us into your practice, like from the inside out, kind of, whether it's systems or team, or whether it's obviously you've shared a lot about your focus, but can
Yeah.
you kind of just let students know a little bit about like your practice?
Yeah, I'm in Walnut Creek, California, in the East Bay, not too far from you. I've been in practice. This is my 12th year. We've been in this location for about 10 years, almost exactly. Um, I'm just a one doctor operation now, and I have a CA, or chiropractic assistant, who's a receptionist. At one point, I had a couple CAs and another doctor, and he got an opportunity to do something else, and he's gone on to do great things, and we're in touch. But now I'm alone, solo, and there's good and bad parts of that, but I work 2 full days and 2 half days, which is nice. I kind of break up my week where Mondays and Thursdays are my full days. So I see patients 8 to 1, 3 to 6. And then Tuesdays I'm here half day in the afternoon. And then Fridays I'm here half day in the morning. So I'm leaving at 1 o'clock today. And then Wednesdays are my days off, but not, as you know, not really, not really off. Just that's the days to work on the business and work on myself, and exercise, and you know
Hmm.
run the kids around and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so it's nice to create your own hours. It's nice to be in charge of um, your own world. And so you can grow, and expand based on what you decide you know you want to do, and what you want to put into it. My office is, I would say, the flow's fairly simple. We see a little over 100 a week, about 26 clinical hours. So it's busy enough to where I feel like I'm constantly seeing people, but we also have a fairly high price point. So I don't like to be too rushed. And so I'll see probably someone every 5 to 7 minutes, on a regular visit, and then we'll see about 5 to 8 new patients a week.
Hmm.
And so we try to just balance it as much as
Hmm.
we can and have a good flow.
Hmm.
And the Catherine, my office manager, has been with me for 4 years. We just had her 4 year review lunch yesterday, actually. So
Hmm.
she's been great, and we're just continuing to plug away.
Hmm. Right on, man. I appreciate that. Can you kind of just talk about what were your personal challenges or obstacles that you had to overcome? Um, and if nothing comes to mind, maybe something that you observed in your peers or that you see with maybe new grads or people in practice.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, there's so many. I mean, something I still struggle with, honestly, is I'm naturally an introvert who can fake it pretty well. So I've just, that's the constant struggle for me, is just managing my energy. Um, and being present with people obviously just requires a lot of energy, because you just want to give everything to them. Um, so it's hard for me. I find myself sometimes, fairly exhausted with just the just the personal interaction. And so that's something I've really had to work on, is just figuring out, how to manage my energy, how to kind of recharge my batteries, when I'm not here. I'm someone who works better in just like short sprints versus kind of extended work periods of time. And so that's something that I've that I've realized about myself and kind of had to manage. Um, but it's something that is so rewarding. But if you're like a perfectionist, it can be frustrating, I guess, just like anything else, because the human body is just so complex. So it's not something. Chiropractic is not something you can ever master. It's probably like golf, or art. I mean, you feel like it's just constant improvement. You could never master it. You're just always trying to tweak. You're always trying to improve. You're always trying to learn. And I think those qualities are what you see in all the successful chiropractors, are people who are constantly learning, constantly improving, constantly driving to adapt.
Awesome. As we head towards the end of the conversation, can you maybe peer out into the next 5, 10, 15 years for yourself? Like, what's maybe your vision for like where you're going, or what are some things you would like to contribute to in the profession, or just in general? How do you think chiropractic is going to grow and evolve?
Yeah, I think that honestly, the cone beam is a big deal within the upper cervical community. And so that type of imaging, kind of advanced imaging, I think is something that chiropractic can take more advantage of. And just as we integrate with other professionals, I think that's something that translates really well, and people can see. For me, I would love to, you know, expand the office and get another doctor in, and have my goal is to have a two doctor practice, so that I can step out for periods of time and have the practice just still run without skipping a beat. Um, and we'll practice as long as I, I can and feel like I'm effective. So I'm nowhere near even halfway there. But so I got a lot of time left, a lot of effort left. I want to get a little more involved in the Blair community, Blair Society, and the Upper Cervical Council. I'm a member of the Upper Cervical Council, but it'd be nice to start holding some leadership positions there. Um, but it's just, I'm also at a place where I have two young kids, and my wife also works, and we're just in the thick of it.
Mhm.
So it's just balancing that professional and family life, and also keeping myself you know healthy and energized, so that I can serve everyone else.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time this morning just to share with any students about the work you do, and just so that they can get exposed, because I think that's super valuable early and often, to get exposure to people like yourself who are in practice and also like exemplary when it comes to just being a chiropractor. So, anyway, I hope this didn't take too much of your energy this morning, and it
Not
was
at
easy.
all. Oh yeah, no, it's great, and I love the work you're doing. I mean, I think I encourage every student, or someone who's considering a career change, to just talk to as many chiropractors as you can, because everyone has their own unique story, and that's probably why you're doing this. But I mean, it's everyone has kind of faced probably the challenges that any listener has faced. And so you start to, learn about people's stories and what they've had to overcome, and kind of what the decisions were that they were struggling with when they were considering, getting into this. But all I can say is just it's an incredibly rewarding profession. It's something I'm grateful for every day, especially coming from where I came from and knowing the other side of it. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Good to connect with you again. It's been a while.
It has. It's good to see you, Noah.